Priya gets me to do all the tough job, and then she says that I expect things as of yesterday. But uh, how many of you used Google Maps to reach to this hotel? Wow. So you know the reference. You can thank the next speaker. He's somebody who works on Google Maps, and more importantly, he works. I mean, not only do we use Google Maps, but we trust Google Maps, right? We trust the time that it tells us. So he's somebody who works in building user trust with Google Maps, right? Now, when Priya told me that I have to introduce somebody from Google, I said I have to find things about him that Google can't tell me. Okay. So then obviously I had to reach to the source. Now, the fact that he works on Google Maps also, I mean, it in some sense implied, but he is an avid traveler himself. But more interestingly, and I don't know if this is on Google Map, he told me his most interesting travel is a travel to Rome, where he traveled all the way to trek a volcano. Okay. Is that on Google Maps? I don't know. Uh, like all travelers, he's an avid foodie. Like a true Indian, he follows cricket. Okay. He's also mentored a Smart India hackathon, a small company, which has developed a social media fraud prevention or viral effect tracker for Ministry of Defense in India. He's a doctorate in AI and ML, with over 25 plus publication in his name in machine learning, open government, and now I'm on the part which Google can tell me. Big data reference architecture. He also has rich experience in building products on banking and finance on one side, which is what we all of us use to manage or save our money, and on the consumer on the other side, which is where we spend all the money. With that, the man who's helped us all to reach here, all yours, Hari.
So good afternoon. So post-lunch session, I try my best to keep you awake. So, okay. So I think thanks for the nice introduction. So, we're already awake. Okay. Okay. So I work for Google Maps, not Google Cloud. So some of you, when you met me, so you asked me that you work on Google Cloud. No, I work on Google Maps. But predominantly my life I spent on B2B space. So I know the space very well. So it's good to be here. Thanks for Stackroot NIT and the esteemed people to invite me for this. So today I'm going to talk about a very important problem plus an exciting time. I think everybody says in the industry there is no exciting time, but I feel we are in the exciting time, right? Due to a variety of reasons, right? So the main reason which I believe, which I spend a lot of time as a practitioner and researcher is artificial intelligence and machine learning. How many of you work in AI/ML here? Few hands, okay. So how many of you believe in AI/ML? So that's good, okay, 70%. How many of you don't believe in AI/ML? Oh, I think that's interesting. So only 2 people, but I'm sure there are a lot of hidden fears in terms of what this Google guys are doing, or even Fang is doing to your data, right? So pretty much I'm going to touch as part of this talk, very contemporary issues, right? So I'm not an architect, so I'm an engineering manager in Google. So engineering manager in Google is supposed to know architecture, management, people, whatever, right? So, and the researcher in me always keeps me curious. So always I feel we need to solve the problem for tomorrow. Maybe present is solved already, but I feel tomorrow is going to open up new frontiers. So what I'm going to talk today is a bunch of things around the motivation of this talk, the contemporary issues that we face, and three touch points, right? So AI is very vast, so I'm not going to talk a lot about how to do machine learning. Some of you are beginners to machine learning. There is an Andrew Ng course. You can follow that. But I'm going to touch upon the contemporary issues for architecture and motivation behind it, right? So invariably, I think there are people on the panel spoke about how we make decisions, right? So pretty much the way we make decisions today is not only our decision making, there are a bunch of machines running behind. Like what Bimal said, what route you choose is decided by Google. What you shop is decided by Amazon. What you eat decided by Swiggy, right? So pretty much everything is decided by something which is running behind the scene. And that's the motivation of this talk, right? So something else is deciding the way that we live today. And that's one of the main reasons this is an exciting space. So when somebody decides something for you, obviously we talk about, I think Sir mentioned about the individual worker, or what are your democratic rights, right? So you are only a vote, just a vote. But pretty much your preferences, everything that we have is baked into a decision box called an AI. You like it or not. Many of you said that you like it, but some of you said you don't like it. But you like it or not, it is the thing. And I know friends who switch from smartphone to a basic phone because of that, due to privacy issues and everything. So I'm going to touch upon that as well. So what is in it for an architect? So why all of us are here, right? It's an architect talk. I'm not going to talk about how Google is growing, how Google uses ML and AI, but what is in it for architects? That's the key moot point, right? Because when you're architecting systems, these decisions are going to come from somewhere. And how many of you believe as architects, who are true architects, these decisions are black box for you? How many of you believe this is a black box? It is not a black box anymore. So it's a completely a decision the system gives to another system, and that system is going to give an end product, right? So as architects, when you're designing systems or when you're trying to take care of systems, you're supposed to be responsible for that consequence also, right? So it's very important for us to know that. The contemporary issues are 3 dimensions. One is scale. Scale means multiple things for multiple people. And then there is a bunch of things around responsible AI. I'm going to talk about it. It's coming in a big way. What is responsible AI, ethical AI, and so on and so forth. And the third and last is, we have so many architects in the room, so what is in it for the community of architects, right? It's very important for us to understand. Now scale. Scale means 2 things. I think many of you know Mr. Gordon Moore passed away a few weeks before, right? So he said, I think there are very interesting or fascinating talk about somebody from Swiggy about the computing, right? And there are a few gentlemen talked about it. Fundamentally, that law changed the entire world, if you look at it. So today, storage is cheap, computing is cheap, RAM is cheap, everything is cheap, right? It's a commoditized world we're living in. So scale means computing. Pretty much the computing power is almost assumed to be infinite. And I think Sir mentioned about the bits are infinite. The computing power is at your dispensation right now. And many of you work as architects with all these cloud providers. You can spin up a machine, run a workload, get a decision out of it. So it is the scale at which it is going. So I'm going to give you initially when I started preparing this slide, I had 40 slides. So I am a researcher. So I go into the detail, start giving data, right? So then I think I got a feedback that no, you should put 7, 8 slides and close it. So I said, okay, let me tone down. Now what should I cut? So it's basically the scoping. It became a scoping problem for me, right? So I had a lot of numbers, I had to reduce it. Okay, so computing, scale means computing, right? That's very, very important for us to understand. The second aspect of scale, we seriously care in Google is users. We build and design for everyone, right? I was in Chennai last week. There was one of my cousin's son, 6 years old. He created 3 saved maps. I was just 6-year-old doing 3 saved maps in Google. And he said, what does that saved map do? I asked him. He said, I know 3 ways to go to my grandma's house now. So people use it for different purposes. So we have to design for everybody. And some of the Google products that you have been using, some of you may be using Google Lens, Google Search. It is a translate for that matter. It has to work for all scenarios, right? So scale means diversity. That means every individual user we care about. And going back to Dr. Pallab's talk, it's even there, the problem is even bigger, right? So the user means everybody, right? So it's like, he said, sitting in Bangalore and Hyderabad, we cannot architect systems for rural villages. So it's similar to that. So when you put a product at the hand of end user, that's where your game starts. Before that, whatever you do behind the scene doesn't matter, right? So it's important to understand the diversity as well as the type of users that we design. Now, why is this in AI, right? So I think some of you would have watched this movie. In 80s, there is a movie called Saraswati Sapadam. Okay, Saraswati Sapadam is a very, very good movie. You should watch if there is a subtitle available. This is a fight between Narada comes and says that this goddess is better than this. So Saraswati takes it too seriously. Say that, okay, I will turn a person who cannot speak to somebody who's highly intellectual. And then Lakshmi cannot keep quiet. So what Lakshmi did is that I'll turn a beggar into a queen. And the third one, Shakti cannot keep quiet as well. So she said that I'll take somebody whose cowardice and then go into somebody who can fight a war. So the movie ends in a nice way, right? Saying that all are important in life and whatnot, right? So, but here it is different, right? I don't know who is a Narada there, but there is a huge battle going on in AI, right? Okay. So, huh? So I feel it's Sam Altman. If some of you know who's Sam Altman. So the analogy here is very simple. All these companies have money, they have power, and they have risk-taking. It's very simple. The game is even now, right? So we are living in this world where somebody is inventing these things at the speed of light, as Sir mentioned in the morning. So the bits are flowing. Sometimes I was watching for a curiosity's sake Matrix Reloaded, so Matrix trilogy. And in that scene, there is one gentleman eating food. He tells Miss Matrix, this is actually, I should feel good about the food now, right? So pretty much it was controlling the mind, right? So we're living in such a world, let's accept that, right? So as architects, this is a contemporary issue. By the time, I always give this example to people who are in technology. We thought we are standing in a floor, but underneath the tectonic shifts are happening. That means you're 1 year here in India, maybe the next year you're in Africa, right? So because the plates shift while the time you are even thinking about it, right? So we are in a world where there's a huge AI supremacy, me versus they, whatever it is going on. And then very interesting to see Microsoft got added into it. And Apple, for example, is little quiet in this, but rest of the people are all doing it. So think of this as a Saraswati Sapata movie. Hopefully it ends well. Now, yeah, Elon Musk, yeah, right? So Elon Musk is a good example. Now, I think let's come to the interesting part of it, right? There is a nice quote by this lady. China is innovate, then regulate, right? That's what they do. Europe regulate, then innovate, right? And then US innovate, don't regulate, right? Now let's look at these pressing issues, right? So as an architect, what will you do? Because you as an architect is going to work in all these markets, isn't it? So pretty much you have to comply with all this. The left-hand side is even interesting, right? And then I get inspired a lot by Andrew Ng and Jan LeCun. Jan LeCun is if you should read their blogs or tweets. Jan LeCun says that, very, very bold thought. He said, all as you managers, manage smart people. And why can't you manage smart machines? Can you imagine a world you are managing smart machines? So you can see this, what is robotic rights? So I was shocked to see some of this contemporary thinking, what people are thinking, the thought leaders in the industry, how you even manage robots. So most of you as architects will have high performers in your team, whatever, average performers, low performers. So you have high performing machine, low performing machine, medium performing machine. You have to manage the machines, right? So somebody said scary, so but I think the key part here is, and I think some of you might be curious, where does India here, right? I think Dr. Pallab is here. I think many of us don't know. India is very contemporary in that. 2018, India has released an AI draft policy. And India is very much leading the front, right? And there is a joke. When Europe puts a law, copy-paste, right? So Europe finds every way to put a law, and then you copy-paste to everywhere, right? So, but India is contemporary. India is, at least this government is investing a lot in terms of thinking ahead of time. So I would recommend you to read the AI regulation. So this is another contemporary issue for you to look through, right? Because it's important to have AI ML, which you cannot stop. As somebody said, scary. It's going to go, but you have to look at this angle also, because it won't be unregulated. There'll be some middle path, right? Now let me talk about scale. This is the 3-dimensional training. Some of the slides which got cut was the number of billion of parameters that it get trained. So GPT-4 today is 1 billion, reaching 1 trillion parameter training. So what is a parameter? I think if you're starting what is ChatGPT, LLM and all, I would recommend you to read this particular paper from Google in 2017 or 2018, exact year, I don't know. Attention is what all you need. That's the main paper, that is a game changer, right? Now all these LLMs are this, right? So now I think even if I ask my daughter or my son and others, they say LLM, do you use ChatGPT? In fact, I get a joke at home saying that what are you doing about ChatGPT, right? So, and we have Bard, of course, right? So, and a lot of criticism about, Google didn't do at the right time because of a very simple reason, the previous slide. The previous slide is pretty much talks about why we can't go fast here, while people want to go fast. Now the training, that you can see is a 3-dimensional training. So one dimension is pipeline, second dimension is model, third dimension is data, right? So you can imagine a 3-dimensional pipeline running in front of you, and how are you going to manage it, right? So what are from the architecture point of view, everybody talked about costs. All these run GPUs, and GPUs are not free. GPUs need a lot of money, right? GPUs are, some of you know, it was inspired from gaming industry. It came from this. The biggest beneficiary of this entire revolution, who is it? There's one company which is very silent in this. Yeah, NVIDIA, exactly. So NVIDIA is the biggest beneficiary, and there is a GPU shortage and all of them. So I would encourage you to read about Jason Huang and his way of thinking and whatnot. And now, I think legacy means what? Legacy in AI is 1 year. Just 1 year. 2018, attention all you need. GPT-3 is there, GPT-4 is there. Now Google will release something in May, whatever, in the I/O. So legacy means what? It's 1 year, right? So if you're not running your latest model, customer will say, do you really know the model? Do you have really AI experts with you? So the speed at which this is evolving, where its legacy has become 1 to 2 years. So some gentleman asked a nice question saying that whether business evolve. I'm sorry, if you don't evolve, somebody will say you please evolve. Because GPT-4 and all this are, and again, this is not a call for, this clarion call for, just think about it, the way the speed is going. The speed is a game changer here, right? So pretty much, as we speak, there is so much training happening. And now, as architects, the last point is very critical. Do you really make or buy or co-create? So what I mean by co-create? Co-create is, you can, like what Microsoft did with OpenAI, or what others are doing together, right? Do you really want to do co-create, right? That's very, very important for you to understand as a choice, right? Now coming to this tough part of the discussion, so I am a researcher in ethics as well, right? So because we do fairness ethics, and there are a lot of regulations called DSA, everything coming up. So a responsible AI, I think as an architect, you should definitely look at data governance. I'll give an example. I think you would have read it in the news. Samsung employees, again, there is machine learning. There is now nothing called machine unlearning. That's real. That's real. So you give a machine with tons of Wikipedia pages, you cannot say that please unlearn and go back to the older one. It's already learned. So there is no machine unlearning. So some of the Samsung employees started chatting something about their IP, and ChatGPT learned and spitted out something. That's what I think you can see it, right? How do you prevent unintended usage? It's very, very important. What if somebody feeds in your company's HR policy, which is a confidential document, into ChatGPT, it goes and performs somewhere? I'm not joking. The power of generative AI is so much that it generates, it doesn't know how to reason. So if you see Jan LeCun says that this is just a machine, it generates something and dumps something. It's not a reasoning machine. Reasoning is a human capability. Judgment is a human capability. Let's understand that. So as an architect, how do you model for reasoning and judgment? And tomorrow, if there's a non-compliance, I think many of you face non-compliance issue, right? Please be ready. There'll be another table of 15 items along these lines. So you can put some guardrails. I'll come to that a little bit, right? So the other one is user opinions, judgment. I talked about bias, right? So I have 5 minutes. Let me run fast. Bias is a very, very important aspect. If you go, some of you open Google search and say bridal makeup today, you'll get bunch of white faces. I'm not joking, it is a thing. So that's a bias we are talking about, right? And then Google has involved researchers from MIT to do skin tones research and all of them. That's all. Again, those are all part of my original slide. So I cannot keep, there are some examples like that. So it all depends on the label, right? So there is a big, big debate, okay? Is your model biased or your data biased? It's actually data is biased. So the model will never be biased. Model learns from the data that you give, right? So sir talked about data. You feed garbage, it get garbage. If you feed, and I think there are many, many examples where typical people who do crime, and some people tried putting judges as AI and what it perceives, right? So some people tried depression bots and so on and so forth. So I tried the Stanford depression bots. You can go and check Stanford depression bot. So somebody tried that, and you go interact as a regular user, right? So a depressed person will talk very differently than a regular person, right? So you have to look at, so I mean, these are some research nuggets, right? So, and somebody designing a depression bot, and what sort of compliance you have for that, I know. I'm not joking. These are all real experiments. You can just go and check. People are trying a lot, right? So ChatGPT is just an eventuality, by the way. So now people are doing auto GPT. I mean, sir mentioned many of those things like prompt engineering. And by the way, all this put together, there is a joke in LinkedIn. He says there is a new job profile emerging, so called kill switch engineer. What that person does is take a bucket of water, run out, pour it on the machine, it runs OpenAI. Okay, now let me kind of round off this talk with something which is very, very important for you to understand. As an architect, you are at an exciting time, but also at a scary time, and also at a, this is again from research, right? I didn't pick from stock images. It's important for you to understand that you are in the middle. The middle portion is you should be knowing your machine learning algorithms and software subsystems. You cannot say that, okay, my system is ran 10.99, but it gives some junk, or it gives some biased information, or I don't even know what it does. That's even, it's I think the way people talk about silo, this is a real silo. Contact data scientists. They are a data science team. They do only those things and then come, right? So I'm sorry. If you are an overall architect, so including my architects who work, they are supposed to be responsible for both the data side of the business, machine learning side of the business, but also the software subsystems. And I think somebody made a very nice, compelling, I think sir mentioned, Pallab Saha sir, it's not IT and business anymore. This is the third dimension, data, machine learning. How do you deal with it? Can you say it's business is responsible for some of them? I'm sorry. It is the system that what it's going to give us an output. And people interact with system. People don't interact with the subcomponent of the system. Let's understand that part. So I always see architects as Yodas. I think some of you Star Trek and all. So the Yoda is the person who knows, is a guru of that, expected to know everything. This requires specialized skills. So better invest in that. In architecture, pay attention to that skill. And if you have an architecture community or something, invest in, it's not a checkbox item anymore. Invest in the ML skills that your team need to acquire as part of your development program, because you're going to invariably deal with data and algorithms, invariably, because already there is enough evidences that ChatGPT is going to take that. And in this entire process, architects plays 3 roles, which is, when I wrote it, I thought about it. Influencer, builder, and advisor. And also, last but not least, a servant leader. The servant leader is a quality that you should know and see what to help in architecture, as opposed to business coming to you, IT coming to you, somebody else operations coming to you. You are supposed to be a servant leader and understand what business needs, what technology needs, and make those right choices. And I personally feel, again, I'm still excited to become an architect. My time is over because I became an engineering manager long back, right? But if you're an architect, it should be definitely be fascinating about what are the advances that we have right now, and wishing all of you very good luck. So, maybe a minute and a question, maybe a couple of questions, maybe some of you asked this. Yeah, so there is a question on, so there is a question on guardrails. So you can definitely have some fairness and bias efforts in your organization. So there is a stricter rules and compliance, like explainable AI, where you're able to explain algorithms that you're using, right? So that it doesn't make the wrong decision. So it goes for an audit, but very premature at this point of time. It's not reached a state to the enterprise, but the wave is coming. So some of you are working on enterprise, the wave is coming. Because I'm 100% sure next RFP that you deal with, are you using generative AI? I need writing. If it doesn't come, please ask me. But those are the things will come as a next step, because invariably it will come into the enterprise. So nothing much exists today. So I'm researching a bit on that, on Google Cloud and few things, and trying to file some research patents and all, but it's not that mature yet. Right? So one question. I think that's a good case. So I think somebody asked the question that, can I give a porcelain mix to my kid? So it said, yes, please go ahead, it has protein. Okay, so it's not a reasoning system. So reasoning has to be trained as well. How do you train reasoning? You need a human assistance. That means a human label is needed. So you have HITL, human in the loop. Without that, it won't work. So when you're trusting the GPT answer, they also say that I myself as a bot, sorry, I don't know this and all of them. That's a disclaimer. It's up to you to use it. So the reasoning has to be through human in the loop. I didn't touch upon it. It's a short talk. That HITL is a very big area for us to focus on. Okay, thank you.